Welcome to the third instalment of the Gauge 1 carriage build, and what you see me doing now is just finishing off the reaming of the last of our trailing arms. This is basically to get the nice precision hole ready for our bushes. Also, just unscrewing the other U section, because what we want to do also is to ream this other section here. And one thing that's become apparent is I'm probably glad I decided to screw these rather than rivet them. It makes it a lot easier for the machining process. And all we need now is a 1/8 reamer to carry on and do the next stage. Just going to finish the other half of the aluminium U section for these trailing arms. These are tapered reamers, or what we call hand reamers, so you can use them quite happily like this. Just do one side and I will flip that round. Just go through again on this other section. Now these line up nicely, so that's looking okay. Okay, what I've just done is I've made two of these bushes. I'm just going to test these and see how they fit in the frame, in the axle frame, in the U-shaped frame. Okay, this is the second bush that's made, and the plan is to basically try these out and see what that's beginning to look like. I made these bushes a push fit. Hopefully that should just knock into there with not too much force, and then just try that for size so you get the idea. The axle will go through like that. That's the arrangement we're going to have. I've just got a couple of spare Gauge 1 wheels. These aren't the wheels I shall be using, but it'll just give me an idea in terms of sizes and if I've got the clearance and things right. So they will sit something like that on the side, obviously with an axle on, but that's. Have my Gauge 1 piece of track, and I'll have a look and see how that tends to line up. There is a problem. You can see that I've made those bushes a little bit too big and not taken into account the flange for the wheel. Obviously you want the flange to sit somewhere around there. So these bushes need to probably come in. After discovering there's a problem with the bushes, we're going to remachine them, but with a slightly smaller shoulder on them to give us a little bit more clearance. So first thing we'll do is face off the end. So end faced off. Then I will centre drill, ready to drill the hole for the axle. The next thing I will concentrate on getting the diameter correct that fits in here. This is the main part to get right. So I'll just set it up for a cut. Let's take a quick measurement of that, see how far we need to go down to. We need to get down to a size of about 318. We're at 385 at the minute, so we can take another chunk off yet. Fits in about 318. So let's see what that looks like in terms of fit. Okay, that's just starting to get close now, where it's holding on. What I'm going to do now is just polish this down, so we get a nice. This is going to be a push fit. So the last foul, just to polish this down. Okay, that's about the fit we want, ready to be a press fit. As I mentioned before, a reamer gives a hole a definite size and finish. Drills are okay, but if you want a proper precision finish, you would then ream it, which is what I'm going to do next. Drill this about ½ an inch. Place a centre in here to support the reamer. Again, this is a hand reamer, a taper reamer, so it really just gets the hole started, and we will finish that off, finally ream it when the two bushes are in the trailing arm. We can ream them together in one step, but this is just to get us started. We'll start to put the cut on. Ease it in, just turn it round. The centre is keeping it all in line, so the reamer's not wandering off, so it's giving us a proper diameter hole. I can feel now the reamer's at the bottom of the hole we drilled, which is all we want for now. So we can take this out and mark out for the next stage. This is the shoulder now. This needs to be about 180, just for starters. What we're going to do here is really just scribe a line on there as a visual marker, and the recess or the undercut for the, which will ultimately take the spring, I shall mark that off. I'll mark that off about half the distance. What I'll eventually do is I'll tweak the end of this shoulder just to bring it down to size. But that's a starting point now. I'm going to now put the undercut on for this is the recess for the spring. This is just a simple small parting off tool. I've just marked where that's going to go. I'll just line that up there. We need to go about 1/16 of an inch in depth, which will take the spring. Bring the tool up, starting point. Alright, that's looking okay. That's got a point where that's wide enough now for the spring. It'll sit on there when it's under tension, just to hold, give us some suspension and hold on to the hold the axle. The last step is we can cut the end of the bush off and face up the end. There's two ways you can do this. You can use a parting off tool, or you can saw it off. In this instance I'm going to use a saw just to saw it off. Tend to avoid parting off tools generally. They can tend to put a lot of strain and a lot of pressure on the bearings, lifting them up, so they can create excessive wear if you're excessively using a parting off tool. But you know, there are times when you cannot avoid using a parting off tool. But a quick hacksaw through the end is more than sufficient for what we need. And at the end, I'm going to face this end down anyway to get our width. The last stage is to face off the end to get it down to our true width. Bring the tool in. Just faced off the end there, as you can see, and a quick measure on that. Okay, this needs to be about 42 thou, so we've got about 30 thou to come off the end of this. So we can slice this down. We reduce the thickness of it now. Okay, there's our new bush. Here's the two new bearings that I've machined, and just compared to the old ones, you can see the slightly difference, bigger shoulder on here than on the others. So what we can do now is fit these into our trailing arm and check those for size. Fit these new bushes into the trailing arms, and what is found is convenient also is because this distance here is 1 inch, I've found a convenient pair of parallels that just fit in between here, and these can support it as we just finally squeeze those down in the vise. Right, so what we can do, so we've got these just in our parallels here now, and just gently bring this into a push fit on this. These parallels just help any distortion of the aluminium. So aluminium is a very soft material, but it's very light, which is the main reason why I used it for the coach bogies. I want to really keep the weight down if possible. It's quite surprising how quickly the weight creeps up. Now the bushes are inserted into the trailing arms, I have to just finally open these out. Remember, I only partially reamed these in the machine. Being a taper reamer, they need to be finally opened out to their final dimension. So just gently start the reamer off through one side, ease it through. And say we're not really cutting on the full diameter till we're about here. This is really once you start to cut to the full diameter of about 1/4 inch. And now the reamer is just gripped on the other side, so it's holding the whole thing nice and square now. And now I'm reaming the two together, that they're going to be parallel. Just as it's halfway through, it's broken through on the other side, so what it'll do now is ease that out. And spin it round and take it through on the other side. Again, not applying a lot of pressure on these. As I say, aluminium is quite soft, but it's also very light, which is one of the advantages, one of the reasons I use it for the coach bogies, to keep the weight down. Just follow on through with the reamer straight through now. So that is now nice and parallel, and we have our hole a definite size and finish now. Okay, the holes are reamed now, so I can test this with my temporary axle and wheel arrangement, see what that looks like now. That fits through lovely. Sort of thing we're looking for. Let's pop the other wheel on. These are just push fit, just for trial purposes. Now that's looking okay. It's the ultimate test now. Let's see what that looks like on the rails. There's our track again. Just a bit more successful. That's perfect.